Alright, we're breaking in to the Infosys programming to get to the May industrial output numbers. The May industrial output numbers has come in as a bit of a relief. They're stronger than what the consensus was suggesting. You've got May industrial growth at 2.4% versus the forecast of 1.8% compared to last year. Of course, it's much lower when you tick 6.2% in terms of May IIP growth. Let's look through the components. We've got the mining sector still negative, but the quantum of negative has started to reduce. So negative 0.9% growth in the mining sector in the month of May. Manufacturing is positive. You've got a 2.5% growth in manufacturing sector in May. Electricity has seen growth of 5.9%. Look through some of the other components that are coming in. Basic goods growth has come in at 4.1%. Again, not too bad. Capital goods is negative, negative 7.7%, but there also the quantum of negative seems to have reduced compared to last month. Intermediate goods sluggish but slightly better actually than what was being anticipated. 2.7% growth on the intermediate goods. Consumer goods, that's where a lot of focus lies, and this is actually a good number. Consumer durables goods growth has come in at 9.3%. That's actually quite strong. Consumer non-durables though is looking sluggish at just 0.1%, but there was a high base effect to contend with. There was 9% growth in the non-durable segment in the same month last year. Over and above that, there has been a 0.1 flat growth on the consumer non-durable segment. You add it up, you get 4.3% growth on the consumer side. So just to sum it up, this IIP number is actually not bad at all. It is sluggish, but then we knew that sluggishness in the industry will continue. But perhaps what you want to read into it, on the assumption that these are believable numbers, is that you've got some amount of flattening out. But one important number which is coming through is the April IIP revision, and this is actually a bit negative because the April IIP growth has been revised down to negative 0.9% versus the original estimate, which was 0.1%. So that's a bit of a negative surprise. The May numbers are okay. The May numbers are better than expected, but April IIP has been revised down to negative 0.9%, and that definitely should be a point of worry. Let me try and get across to our guests, and we'll start getting analysis, and we'll keep reading through the numbers. We'll basically have to analyze what the trend has been. As we keep saying on IIP, these are numbers which tend to be relatively volatile, so you have to look at the trend more than just one individual numbers. And if you look at the trend, it looks like it's more or less in pace. But if you look at the line graph, and we'll get it up to you in a minute, the March number was negative 3.2. The April number was negative 0.9 after this revision, and then in comparison to those 2 months, May certainly looks a lot healthier than the last 2 months. So let me just start getting in reactions on that. We've got Ms. D.K. Joshi of CRISIL joining us. We'll be joined by Sachidanand Shukla of INAM as well, and then we'll get into it. Not a bad looking number, especially since there is some amount of strength that is there in the consumption side, and on the capital goods side it's negative, but then maybe not as negative as some would have feared.
What's the aggregate number, aggregate IIP?
It's 2.4, sir, compared to the 1.8 consensus number, and there's a downward revision in April down to negative 0.9. So if you want to just club those together.
Yeah, I think this is very much on expected lines, and these days it's very rare that you get the IIP growth that you expect. I think this is one of the rare occasions. Very much on expected lines, and I think sluggish growth, but I think appears to be lifting from the lows that we saw in the last 3 to 4 months.
Would you be a little bit disappointed though, seeing the revision that we have seen in previous months' numbers, sir? Negative 0.9 versus 0.1?
Well, hardly. There's not much difference, because I think we've seen much more severe revisions. So I think I'm not particularly disappointed by this revision. I think going by the export performance, I think that was an indicator that the industrial production would not do well. So I think it's, as long as the revisions are not very sharp and they don't completely distort the picture, I think they are within acceptable norms. I think so. This is not too much of a worry to me.
Okay, so just going to go back to some of the breakups and get your thoughts on those as well. So on the consumption side, again, the numbers are strong, particularly on durables, where you've got 9% growth, 9.3 to be exact. Non-durables have been soft at 0.1%, but there was a high base effect there. What would you read into the consumer numbers, sir?
Well, I think it's quite interesting. Maybe I think it's due to some of the automobile possibly results being slightly better. But I think overall durable picking up, I think in the next couple of months also hinges on what happens to the monsoons and what kind of rural push to demand we see. So I don't see too much upside to the durable goods growth this year, and I don't see the growth maintaining close to 9% going ahead. I think it'll ease off, I mean, going by the overall demand conditions in the economy.
But it seems to tell you, sir, that despite everybody saying that, at some point consumption will crack, and I don't know what the reason is, but consumption is not cracking right now. It seems to be holding up.
Well, consumption will not crack in India. I mean, I think in the sense that if you look at it, look at the two major components of GDP, which is investment versus consumption, the consumption growth overall has never been negative, at least as far as I remember. I mean, so it only, I think for us, consumption slowing means 5 to 5.5% real growth. I mean, that means it's still holding up quite strongly, and I don't expect consumption to completely ease off. But I think given that it's a large part of the overall economy, close to 60%, I think even if consumption slows down, I think that has ripple effects across the economy. So consumption collapsing is not happening. I don't see that happening, but yeah, we will see moderation there. But I think investment is more of a worry. I mean, that is where you're seeing the numbers not being good at all, and I haven't seen this month's data. But I think overall, I think investment numbers have been very, very disappointing in the last few months, both from the GDP side or you look at from the industrial production side. So I think that's a major worry for me at this juncture.
And we'll just talk about that in a minute. I'm just going to take a minute to see how the markets have reacted. This is not a number that you would see any dramatic reaction to. Neither is it spectacularly positive in the sense that it changes the trend, nor is it very, very negative. So I'm not surprised to see no reaction as far as the equity markets are concerned. Just going to quickly touch on the bond markets. Bond markets are also absolutely flat, 8.12. So, after that shocker of an Infosys earnings number, maybe we needed a little bit of quiet on the IIP side, and that seems like what we've gotten. Sachinandan Shukla is with us in Arm Securities. Sir, good morning. Great to have you on the show. Welcome. What's your first thought on the IIP numbers? 2.4 seems like, this is one of the relatively calmer numbers that we've seen in quite a while.
Right. We had this indication from the core IIP numbers, which were relatively better, although the reliability of the IIP numbers still remains suspect, but there was an inkling that this number is likely to be better. However, I mean, if you look at the high frequency data, automobile sales, credit growth, some of these indicators do point at some moderation going forward. So yes, this data point seems to be relatively better off, but we do see some moderation continuing through the first half of this fiscal year.
When you say moderation continuing, meaning what? I mean, what would be sort of the levels at which you think IIP would settle on the assumption that there are no further negative triggers? And even if, let's talk about, that scenario and then talk about what positives could come in. But under current conditions, where do you think IIP could stabilize?
Well, one of the things is that the continuing dry spell, we have seen electricity cuts, power cuts across the country. That will have some impact on the manufacturing numbers. We've also seen, as I said, some of the high frequency data showing us some kind of a drop, especially on the consumption side. We know that the intermediate and the basic goods also continues to be a problem. So I'm not talking about the capital goods, which has remained very, very volatile, but at least the first half of this fiscal year, while you may see the data being very volatile because of the base effect, because of the volatility of the inherent indices, I think we'll see some moderation. And when I say moderation, I'm saying that the second half is going to be relatively better off. So we see the industrial production story as being a story of two halves, wherein the second half is relatively going to be better off.
Mr. Joshi, would you agree? Although, I'm not sure how that will play out. A lot still remains up in the air in terms of, power sector, etc. Efforts are being made, but if that effort does not actually come to the ground, then you could see continued weakness even in the second half?
Well, I think second half will also benefit a little bit from the base effect. I mean, I think that's what is going to help the second half. That's what I believe. But I think overall it depends on a variety of things. I mean, if you are able to sort out your coal issues, and I think the power sector picks up, then you could see the upside to industrial growth. But I think overall our expectation is that 2012-13 will deliver about 5% industrial production growth, which looks healthy in compared to what we saw in 2011-12. But clearly, I think it is still sub trend, much below the trend rate of growth in industrial production. So we will have a subpar performance even in 12-13, despite industrial production going up to 5%.
Fair enough. On the capital goods side, Mr. Joshi, just to start with you for a minute, we got negative 7.7 last month. I think it was negative 16 or so. Any reason to believe that the negative trend on capital goods at least may start to flatten out, or again, we don't have enough of an indication on what's happening on the investment side? Although there is talk that government project implementation could be picking up. That could turn out to be at least a mild positive for something like capital goods.
Absolutely. I think if decisions are taken, and if some of the projects are cleared at a fast pace, which is being talked about right now. So I think what we have seen so far is some sort of an announcement. So if actually it translates into the ground level clearances of projects, I think then we will definitely see some upside to investment going ahead. But I think for a sustainable upside to investment, I think we have to see a lift in private investment, I think, and that depends on a variety of things. So some upturn is not something that is desirable at this juncture. A sustainable upturn is what I think is desirable, and that requires more than interest rate cuts. I think it requires the efforts from the government to improve the investment climate in general.
Mr. Shukla, just on your what's your thought on the capital goods segment and how that could play out? Again, I guess given how negative it's been, if we do, and we're being hopeful here, if we do see some activity pick up on the investment end, that part could rebound significantly, perhaps.
Well, we do see capital formation being weak, and I think the key here is, you should note that the capital goods index has remained in the negative for almost 8 months now, barring one episode where it actually ticked up. What it tells us is that we need some action on the ground, some policy implementation, some decks to be cleared by the government. We are seeing some momentum, but it is not sustained, and therefore I do have my doubts on the sustenance of this particular trend. So while we may take heart from the fact that the YY number has come up a bit, even though it remains negative, but we've bridged the gap a tad. But I think it would require sustained policy effort, and capital formation clearly remains a worry. And even anecdotal evidence suggests that the sentiment is very, very weak, and unless we see some respite on the global and the domestic side, it will continue to pose problems for us.
Okay, so as things stand right now, Mr. Shukla, I'll stay with you. This particular number or data point doesn't give us any reason to believe that the Reserve Bank stance will change. I guess we'll wait for the inflation numbers. What's your anticipation there, and combine it with what you've got on IIP and give us a sense of what you're expecting on rates?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, the reliability of the IIP numbers, and even the core number, if you look at what has happened in the previous month, it was revised within an hour or so. So the reliability remains pretty weak, and the RBI has already commented on it. We think we should be looking at the core inflation numbers. We should also be looking at the headline inflation numbers. And please note that the WPI numbers are actually beginning to get revised upwards by an average of about 50 basis points. And that will clearly have the RBI worried. So yes, the RBI already has an easing bias. I mean, they've already cut the repo rate by 50 bips, and the liquidity side has eased considerably. But I think the numbers to look at will be the core inflation numbers and also the headline number. Monsoon has remained a worry, clearly, and the RBI will be really looking at the headline numbers there. And then given the kind of revisions that we are witnessing in that series, I think we will be wary of any rate action immediately.
No, absolutely. I can't see any rationale for the RBI after their last policy statement to cut right now. Mr. Joshi, would you agree with that? And let's take it a step forward. So they don't do anything in July. What do you think the rest of the year could look like? I think people are saying 50 to 75 maybe, but that's also a maybe.
Well, I think that will depend on how the data shapes up, and particularly I think if we see further down, I mean the GDP growth go down much further than we expect, then I think RBI will step in to support growth. I think at a point, because if the economy is growing below potential and far below potential, then I think the monetary policy can be used to some extent, not large, to support growth. Now I think so. Our expectation is also that maybe up to 50 basis point of rate cut is possible this year, but I think that will depend on how the data behaves, I mean, so to say. And I think there's not much comfort on the inflation front, but I think and there are enough downside risks on the growth front. So I think that's why we believe that rate cut it will not happen, I think, in July, but I think during the course of the year we could see some rate action from RBI. And today's data doesn't change the picture at all. I mean, and RBI never, I think, will base its decision on just 1 month data. And given the extreme volatility and revisions that we see both in IIP as well as in inflation data, so I think 1 month's data is not going to make determine. Yeah, though it helps in decision making, but it's not going to shape the decision of the central bank. And right now, I think they will not like to take chances with inflation. So I would expect a pause in the coming policy.
That seems absolutely reasonable. Thank you both so much. Appreciate you taking the time to help us analyze this minute to minute as the numbers came out. This is a decent number. It's not a bad number given what we've seen in the past couple of months where you've had 2 consecutive months of negative numbers.